morning. Thank you very much for having me along this morning. It's really exciting that as a church that you take time to equip. And so when Shane shared about it, it was like, yeah, this is awesome opportunity to be able to come and share. And really exciting that you've got to focus on mission and just this opportunity to kind of, I guess, look at together the biblical side of that and what it looks like, but then to be able to come and share some practical side of going, hey, well, what does some mission look like and for us in a New Zealand context? So I'm Dave Gow. I'm the Director of Word of Life New Zealand, and I have been for the past I think this is my 5th year of directing the ministry, but been involved here in New Zealand for 14 years. And so I have, wherever the slide went, family. So this is my wife Ainsley and my 3 boys. We thought it was a good idea to have 3 under 3, and that proved to be not a good idea to begin with, but we're really reaping the benefits now when they're all just great friends together as they head off to school and stuff. So Word of Life New Zealand. So within New Zealand, we have been based here for about 30-something years. Well, it started in the late 80s, so longer than that probably now. And I guess as I go to share today about Word of Life New Zealand, the best way that I figure that I can do that is kind of by sharing a bit of my testimony. I guess firstly, who here has heard of Word of Life before? Sweet, pretty good representation. And then there's a couple here that don't know. So you might know more now about Word of Life New Zealand than I did when I first got involved. So I left school early. I grew up on a farm down in Gore, or near Gore, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I just loved my time on the farm and couldn't think of anything better to do rather than just be outside working on stock. And so as soon as I could, I kind of left school and started working on a big sheep and beef station down there. But then I was kind of on the side, I was involved in this youth group. And I grew up in a Christian home, but church-wise and stuff, I didn't have any kind of personal relationship with God. I went to church, that was it, and I went to this youth group that was based all around fun, and would do a 5-minute devo or something like that. But some of these friends from that youth group were heading on this mission trip, and it was in the middle of winter, heading to Samoa. And so rather than be out there on the hills and shifting some brakes for the Swedes and stuff for the sheep in the snow down in the Hokonui Hills of Southland, I was like, well, why not go to Samoa for a mission trip? And then there was also this girl that I was interested in was going on that trip as well. So I was going for all the wrong reasons. And yet on that trip, turned out to be Word of Life that was running this trip called Youth Reach Out. And God used that trip to just transform my life. So during that time on the trip, basically they opened the Word of God and they taught from it and showed us how it applied to our lives today. And growing up in the church my whole life, that shouldn't have been as revolutionary as it was, but it was massive. And they also taught this principle of daily quiet time. And so that I could actually have a relationship with God now, that I could spend time in His Word and start to learn and understand more of who He is and what He wants to do in my life. And so I got into this rhythm and routine of every day while I was on this mission trip, just opening up His Word in the morning and being refreshed. Getting all these seminars each day around practical things that applied to me today, rather than like, oh yeah, the Bible, and like, okay, if I believe in that, then I'll be saved and I can go to heaven one day. But actually, man, this is how it can impact my life today. And so as a result of that trip, by the end of that 3 weeks, when I got home, I did exactly what the director at the time, Tom McIver, had said not to do, which was go home, get a good night's sleep, and then start talking to your family about it. Well, I stayed up, started talking to my family about it, and kind of just shared with them that, like, sorry, I'm not going to take over the family farm anymore. I feel called to full-time ministry. After 3 weeks, and all I'd ever wanted to do in my life before that was work on the farm. And so kind of 6 months after that, I moved up here to Hamilton, and I joined the internship program with Word of Life. And then God used that over a course of time to just continue to grow me, develop me, and change me. And so what I guess I'm hoping through our time together this morning is that for each of you, you may see, just like in my life, how God transformed it, and as just a little farmer boy, but how God has then allowed me to step into this ministry space of essentially mission within New Zealand. And that basically, if I can do it, any of you can do it, because a dropout from school, just wanting to go farming, and yet God has me here in this position to be able to direct national ministry. So Word of Life is not just in New Zealand. We are active in over 80 countries around the world, and many of you probably know and have that here at Te Awamutu we've got a relatively strong relationship with Word of Life in the Philippines as well. And so that's one of the countries within our region that we're involved in. So it is a worldwide ministry, but within New Zealand, we partner with churches and ministries right across the country. So we're serving from Whangarei right through down into Gore, Southland, Invercargill. And I guess the way that we do that, as a ministry, our vision is to see every young person in our nation impacted by the gospel through a friend. It's a bold vision. To see every single young person in our nation impacted by the gospel through a friend. And the key part of this vision for us is the through a friend. Word of Life is never going to reach every young person in New Zealand. No way. It's not our responsibility to. It's the local church. And so therefore our role and our mission out of that becomes to partner with local churches to evangelise and disciple youth. And that's what we do. So when we're serving from Whangarei through to Invercargill with those churches, is that we're just trying to come alongside local churches to equip and train their youth leaders to be able to in turn equip and train their young people to love and share the gospel. We believe that young people are the key to reaching our nation with the gospel. Young people today have the greatest reach compared to any of us. When they are in school, their sphere of influence is the biggest it's ever going to be in their life. And so we need to be able to take the time to capitalise on that and empower them to share their faith right now. Not as something like with me after I'd left school that then God captivated my heart and then I've started getting involved, but actually for young people while in school, not just to go along to youth group, but to be empowered and challenged, equipped with a mission to reach their schools with the gospel. And so our goal out of that is to cultivate gospel advancing youth ministries. Gospel advancing is this term that we use as a ministry all the time, but it's not just gospel centered, but it's gospel advancing. We want them to actually be taking it out. We want it to be multiplying, not just putting on some events every now and then and adding some people to the kingdom, but we're training and sending out and multiplying so that people that are getting saved are in turn being discipled and being equipped how to train others to take that out. So we've actually, just a side note thing, but we've been developing this thing that we call Mobilise, which is a tool that we can hand to young people that they can basically disciple their friends if they lead them to Christ, and they can be the one to take them through the basics of the faith, and in that process teaching them how to then share their faith with others as well. And so, our strategy is that we continually partner with youth ministries to serve, support and strengthen as they engage in gospel advancement and discipleship. So if you're in here and you've heard of Word of Life before, then this is potentially what you've kind of know us for, is high energy gospel outreach events. And so what that looks like today is Converge, Youth Night, Origin. But what we, and this is kind of what one looks like, if we've got sound. So when we do these events, our heart, again, as I've already been speaking to, is that it's friends reaching friends with the gospel. And so I just have another video to kind of share what, I guess, a brief testimony of what that can look like for young people.
We asked that question, who is Jesus? And one thing that was interesting is that when we asked it to different people, you find that most of them can give an answer. Most of them had some understanding about who Jesus was. But I think about that last girl who gave that answer, and what she said was, she gave this information about Jesus. She even knew Jesus died on the cross. She could say all this stuff about Jesus, but then she finished with this. She said, but I don't really know who Jesus is to me.
The whole thing is just getting people into a place where they actually think about that most important question: who is Jesus? And I mean, to me, that's the fundamental question. If you're getting people thinking about that, then Origin is doing amazing things. That's what it's all about. One of our youth brought along his non-Christian mate from school, and he made a decision. So he got up and he was really struck by the whole question of who is Jesus. He said to me, I've never cried so much, or really thought so much about a question.
So yeah, the power of just like, what we call them catalyst events really, because like I mentioned earlier, an event is not gonna, the impact of an event can be addition, that we see more young people get saved. But it's the stuff that happens after that, and it's the excitement for a young person of going, I invited my friend and he got saved. And then now he's coming along to youth group. And now I get to see him get discipled, and now I get to see him go out and share his faith. And so yeah, we talk about it as a catalyst thing, something that ignites something in young people to want to go and take and share their faith further. So that's what we're most known for, but what we really actually love doing the most is partnering with youth ministries through training and leader care. So as a ministry, we have a bunch of our team that we call our LCM team, our local church ministries team. And their whole role is to just go and travel around and meet with youth leaders, to understand their youth ministries, to understand what's going really well, what their heart is for reaching their community, and then to find out what's not going so well and what gaps they may have and how we could come alongside them and provide some training for them, some equipping or an event to help boost them or whatever it is that they need at that time to just serve that youth ministry. And along with that, then the leader care side is massive, where youth leaders across the country are just very isolated often within churches. There's the church leadership, and they've got the eldership teams, and they're kind of all together. And then there's this youth leader who's either paid or unpaid, volunteering, and they go, "Yes, we believe in you, all the best," which is really cool and empowering. Like, yeah, I can do what I want, but also they need a lot of support. And so the fact that we can kind of come along and just be someone on the outside of that and really care for them and pray for them, come alongside them, is a real joy. Then we've got a bunch of other tools in the toolbox. Internships, kids camps, youth reach out. So, and the reason I'm kind of sharing all these things, I guess, is to give you all an idea of, hey, within New Zealand, Word of Life, this is what we look like. And then to, at the end, when I talk about it as far as you consider mission, is Word of Life an area that you could help come alongside within mission? Or something similar, or whatever it is, and to help you realise that, again, anyone, any stage, we can get involved in mission, whether that's locally or globally, and would want to see you challenged in considering how you might be able to be involved. So, yeah, within New Zealand, we have a rather large internship program. So this is a photo of our internship team this year. So we've got 3 managers who are operating at full time, and then 10 interns. So it's a multi-year program. We have, this year we've got 6 first-year interns, 2 second years, 1 third year, 1 fourth year. And they have the opportunity through this program to come, be equipped and trained, and to actually go out at the end of it, if they stay for the 4-year program, to have a degree. Whether that's, most of them, that ends up being a biblical degree, but for some of them, they can actually, while they're studying alongside with us, come out with a business degree or whatever it is as well. And it's our heart through the internship program to see reproducing ministry leaders. We just see a gap, again, within our country of equipped Christian leaders. And so we're wanting to do what we can to equip as many young people as we can, to send them out to other churches and be equipped and trained. And so the first year is a very biblical-based overview year, and then they kind of get involved in heaps of different little things as far as ministry-wise. Second year, their focus is more on missions, and so they do a couple more mission trips than the rest of the team. Third year is kind of on the local church, and so they, as a part of the year, they'll do a 3-month church placement, which I believe just recently, you may not, maybe I'm revealing stuff before you're meant to know it, but anyway. So Avi on the, second from the left, so he is our 3rd-year intern, and he is about to do his church placement here at Te Amuru. So he gets married in the end of the first week of the school holidays, And then after that, he's here for 3 months to just come and basically see, okay, I've been working in parachurch ministry for a couple of years. What would it look like just to serve in a local church full time? And basically with the whole mindset of going, we want to expose these young people to a whole variety of different ministry things to see where is God captivating your heart the most. Where would you like to serve long term? Whether that's in a vocational sense of full-time ministry, or that's just how am I doing this on a volunteer basis as I work in my other job. So yeah, excited to have Avi out here. Normally we send them further abroad, but yeah, because he's just getting married and his wife works in Cambridge, then you guys get the benefit of having him hang out for 3 months. And then 4th year is kind of another mission-focused year, and the interns do a 6-month overseas placement. And so Sarah at the front here holding the dog, she just maybe like a month ago left for her placement overseas. She's in Austria, and she'll be there for 6 months, doing her best to learn German while she's there, and being challenged through that. So,
with those placements,
yep.
Are they placed in Word of Life or placed in churches overseas?
It depends. Yeah. So there's no real set thing that it needs to be. The last 2 years have both ended up being Word of Life placements, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of our internship program. So that's a cool and pretty significant way that different people can get involved. The internship program also then leads this ministry called Kids Camps or Kids Holiday Programs. And it's a real training ground for the interns, but it's where we get to come alongside and partner with a church that desires to reach their community, but doesn't necessarily have anything in place yet. And so the internship team comes along and basically models to them what an outreach for their community could look like. And when they first come, that's going, cool, we're going to do everything, we're going to show you what it looks like. And so the model is a week-long kids holiday program in the school holidays. And it's like a whole church partnership. So on the Saturday before the week long, the intern team shows up and they partner with the youth ministry. And so the youth are from the church are the ones who are going to be serving that week and being the leaders for all the kids that are coming along. And so they do a training on the Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoons so that they're then ready on the Monday for the training, for serving, sorry. And so then while the kids holiday program's on, they have the kids kind of from 8. We then need the church to be involved and have parents and the rest of like older ones there in the mornings, so that as the kids are getting dropped off, there's people from your church there meeting the parents, shaking hands, giving them a free coffee, all that kind of thing. Then they run the program for the kids all throughout the day. It's kind of through until 3 o'clock, feed them. It's a free outreach for the community. And then kids head home at 3, and then the youth and the intern team all head away ideally to a camp where they're all staying together. And then the interns get to do and teach spiritual growth modules to the youth that are there serving that week. And so it becomes a really awesome, development for our interns, where they just get great opportunities in serving and training. But for the church, where it's just this full church buy-in, because we need the parents involved, we need people serving food. We've got the youth group who are getting involved in serving in ministry and getting trained and developed in the evenings, rather than just often, if you go to a kids camp, then they've got their cabin of kids and they're with them 24/7. And so you don't really get many opportunities to actually input into those youth and see them trained and developed. And so this provides a really cool opportunity for that. And so And then it's like on top of that, because like if we were doing it here at Te Amuru, for example, then you're getting families walking through the door of the church during the week in a safe place. And so what we see every time that we get to serve a church in this way is that on the Sunday, there's new families walk through the door because they've been there already. It feels safe. That was a really kind place. It was a really cool place where my kids had an awesome time. I found out about the kids programs that they run on Sunday, and so it all of a sudden connects all these dots for the community where they can come and be a part of your church. So that's a really exciting ministry that we've had the last few years, and then basically we start to phase ourselves out because again, it's about partnership. Word of Life is never going to do it, and so we're trying to equip and train the church of like, this is a model that we think could be effective for you. And then, so we've come the first time, we show you how it's all done. The second time we come, we go, okay, let's work together. What are the elements that you think you could take care of, and we'll fill the gaps. And then the next time it's going, cool, now pick up a few more of your things, and whatever gaps are still left, we'll pick that up, to eventually where it's going, you don't need us anymore. You've got a fully equipped church who knows how to run this kids holiday program yourself, who knows how to train your young people yourself, and all those kind of things. And you carry it on into the future of reaching your community with the gospel and seeing families come in through the church as a result. To then youth camp, it's our annual camp here, local at Finlay Park. To then Youth Reach Out, which again is one that I shared at the start of how God used that to impact and transform my life, and really our intentional missional aspect and a tool that we use, and we're making it more and more intentional, where it's going to youth ministries within New Zealand, where it's not just, so when I did it, I just applied. Whereas now we're saying to the churches, like, make this a part of your growth program. And so you nominate people that you would like to send. And so that it's more of going, okay, cool, well, Te Amuru, who do you have that's in that year 12 and 13 age range that you see potential in, that you really want to send them along on this mission experience to see how God's going to continue to work in their life and train and develop them. And so it's becoming a lot more intentional in that way, and a really exciting partnership again with the church. And so, and where we're seeing a better result as well of ongoing care from the church for individuals that gone, because you actually know about it, rather than like my church originally, 14, 15 years ago when I went, that they didn't even know I was going. And so they couldn't be involved, whereas now just trying to get the churches involved in the young people and their ongoing care as possible. So at the moment, mission-wise, since COVID, it's basically just been Fiji, because we have a Word of Life is in Fiji as well. And so our couple over there, Charles and Tina, it's kind of our safest and easiest place to go. And then over time, we'll build up. And so we used to alternate between Fiji and Samoa each year, and occasionally we'd pop across to the Philippines. So we'll be trying to rebuild so that we can head to Samoa again. And then also Word of Life has just got established in Vanuatu. And so that'll probably become one of our regular locations as well. So what it kind of looks like for us in an average year at a glance, this is what we saw last year. It's through the different outreach events that we did, we were able to see over 200 young people respond to the gospel. We were able to reach over 6,000 with the gospel, ran 50 different events and trainings, served 89 different ministries across the country, and the rest of those things there. But I guess as we then start to move into the, well, what about you side? So we had over 100 volunteers and over 350 prayer and financial supporters. And so this is a big way that, I guess for us as a ministry, that people can get involved in serving alongside with us. And so if you would like to partner with us, then you can do it in these kind of 4 different ways. Pray, volunteer, advocate, and give. And so on the pray side, it's massive. The heart that we have, the desire that we have to see every young person in our nation impacted by the gospel through a friend, that's not going to happen outside of just a massive partnership, and we want it saturated in prayer. And so if you are a praying person and would be willing, then there'll be a QR code later, but there's a thing that you can go and fill in that would allow you to basically sign up for our newsletters so you can know what's going on and that you can join us in prayer. Volunteer. So at all those kind of different things that I shared today, there are those different events, the youth camp, youth reach out, whatever else. We are so often just needing people to come and serve alongside with us. And so that same thing on that QR code that I'll show later, if you're willing to volunteer, then you can kind of sign up and let us know, hey, yeah, I'd love to help out where I can. And then it should pop up with some questions of like what kind of areas that you might be interested in getting involved. And so that would be massively helpful to us as well. Advocate. Essentially, if you hear kind of who we are as a ministry and what we're trying to achieve as our missional focus within New Zealand, and you go, man, I want to see that happen too. I want to see every young person in our nation impacted by the gospel through a friend, then would you, consider kind of being an advocate for us? How can you share the story of what we believe God's doing in our nation and how we can get more people excited about gospel advancement? So it's not necessarily advocate word of life. Nah. Like, if you want to, cool. But it's more, how can you advocate for the mission of gospel advancement? How can you speak into that, and wherever you go, whatever other churches you visit, whatever other ministries you're involved with, to be encouraging and challenging them, going, okay, this is really cool, this is exciting, but how do we multiply? How do we not just kind of do our normal little thing, but how do we actually train other people to head out and take this out as well? Train people to train people. And that's why I mentioned at the start, but it's so exciting that as a church, you're doing this equip course stuff, where it's you're taking it from just my faith and what I'm learning to my equipping of what do I need to do with this? How do I actually take this out? And if you can advocate for that wherever you go as well, that you're going, let's challenge everyone in our faith situation to go, how do we actually do something about this that's going to be effective over a long term? To then give. As a ministry, we have some fairly big financial needs to continue to serve churches right around the country, because our heart and what we believe our calling of serving churches, we don't want to be a tax to the church. And so pretty much everything that we do for free for churches. We don't charge them anything. So if we were going to come and do a training with the leaders here at Te Awamutu, it doesn't cost. If we were going to come and put on an event here in the area, it wouldn't cost. If we were coming and serving and helping to put on a kids' holiday program, it wouldn't cost. There's a few things where, like our youth camp and our big event Origin, where we say, hey, come here, those cost. But if we come to you, it's free. And so in order for us to keep taking advantage of serving as many churches as God seems to be opening up the doors to be able to serve, we need more funds in order to keep stepping out and doing that and meeting that need. So that's the QR code based on how far away we are. You might not be able to see it, but I also have a few, I guess, business cards, but they got the QR code on it as well. So feel free to just come and grab one of those. Alternatively, at the bottom there, you'll see world.org.nz/give. Now, even if you're not in a position to give financially, that will still take you to the same place where you can sign up if you're wanting to receive the newsletters, if you're wanting to advocate, if you're wanting to volunteer. So, yeah, if you're like, I want to get involved, but I can't give financially, that's still the right place to go, where you can fill that in. So that's my flyover of Word of Life New Zealand. And if anyone had any questions or wanted to dig deeper into any of those things, then that's basically where I'd open up some time now to feel free to ask away. But I just really thank you for the time and for all of your hearts that you're willing to come and sit in this space to continue to learn about mission, and ultimately probably where you're already advocating for mission in some way, sense or form. And it's been a privilege to share with you today, so thank you for that. And then, any questions, feel free to fire away.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
It's quite easy working with groups of people to sort of have a biblically trained robotic people, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
All trained the same way. How do you work out individuals' different personalities to it? Do you have one-on-one working with people that are being trained with the program to sort out their, to help them in their particular circumstance, wherever they come from, whatever the convictions are, and how to work through and work out individuals so that you get individuals actually totally committed to Jesus.
Yeah, cool. So particularly I guess with internship program is like a really easy way to speak to that as far as what we're doing. But it's like they're all involved in the same ministry outputs as a training ground. But for our 10 interns, we've got 3 managers. And that's intentional because in order to truly see people equipped, it's exactly what you're talking about, where you need to be very personable, very relational, and very catered or very intentional around their development. And so I guess out of that, we're then identifying different strengths that they have, different areas that we want to see them strengthened in, but how we can help them to really thrive. And then I guess additionally to that, on the mission side, like I've talked about gospel advancing, but another term that we use a lot is relational evangelism. And that there is kind of where it really gets down into the nitty-gritty and removes any of the, but I'm not wired that way. And so for me, I guess again to come back to a little bit of my testimony, so I've been involved with Word of Life for 14, 15 years. For 12 of those, was doing the ministry. And like, I was really passionate about discipleship. Okay, so a lot of the reason of why I came up here and chose to join the ministry was because, man, this is how God worked in my life through this. I want to help others experience the same thing. And then that way that worked out in my life was just being coming alongside young people and discipling them. What I didn't realize at the time was that I was discipling them into my own flawed understanding. So I was, I came and I was doing the ministry, and so I was like, this is a gospel work. And so I was surrounded by Christians, and then going to events and different trainings or whatever, and trying to equip other people to go out and share their faith, or to invite friends along or whatever. And for myself, it's like, I'm not an evangelist, but I'm training others, so it's all good. And that was wrong in my thinking. And I didn't come to that knowledge and that understanding and that growth for myself personally until 2 or 3 years ago, which is crazy. But I've been involved in gospel work for all those years and just never really got it. But so for me now, it's this realization, this understanding of relational evangelism, and that is for everyone. We are all called, as a believer, it's your responsibility to share that faith. God has not saved you to hold that faith to yourself. His desire is for His name to be made known. And He saved you so that you can make His name known. Now, you may not all be evangelists. And this is where I was like, oh, well, I'm not an evangelist. But we are, and so 2 Timothy 4:5 is the verse that really challenges me on it. Because in there, as Paul's talking to Timothy, he says to him, do the work of an evangelist. And the whole context of it, like I get this picture of like, okay, clearly Timothy wasn't an evangelist. Yet he's still called to do the work of one. And so I then sort of came to this realization and understanding in my own life of going, just because I am in my vocational ministry sharing the gospel, what about in my personal life? And there was this big disconnect. And so I had to basically go, man, God, I've just been sinning against you in this way, where I've been turning down intentional opportunities to go out and share my faith because I'm doing it in my vocation.
Thank you. You answered that question very well.
And so now it's going, man, God, would you actually, in this work that you've done in me, would you challenge others? Because I'd always only really heard people talk about evangelism, and they were evangelists who were sharing it. And so it was kind of like this distant, well, that's not me. Whereas then now what God's done in my heart is going, well, how can I share my story so that general population can see it's your responsibility too. And so for me, that meant that I took one of the principles that we teach and train young people and going, well, I guess I should apply that into my own life. But it was intercessory prayer fuels it. And so I started to go, okay, I'm going to start praying daily. God, would you allow me to share my faith with someone? And the idea of this intercessory prayer is that you identify a name that you want to come to know Christ. And I had no names when I started. Because I've only been working with Christian people for so long. And so to begin with, it was, God, would you reveal a name to me so that I can do this? And He started revealing names. Oh, of course, my neighbour, Mike. Oh, of course, Simon, the Chinese man at the bakery that I see almost every day because I'm there all the time. Whatever it was, like all these different little things that He started to reveal to me. And then He started to then really break me, because in the morning I'm praying, God, would I have this opportunity? To then all of a sudden I'm out doing a job, I see Mike over the fence, and I go, oh, not now. I'm busy now. To then the next morning, so I've wished that away. Next morning I'm praying again. Oh. And so it just started to like really just chisel away and break at my heart of going, yeah, I'm not an evangelist, but I rub shoulders with those that need to know Christ. I need to share my faith with them. And just basically asking God to continue to work in my heart around it. And so, if nothing else, that would be my challenge to each of you today of how you can be involved today in mission work, is to start to ask God to break your heart, to reveal to you who you rub shoulders with whoever needs to know Christ. And you can be involved in mission work today as you just go and start to pray for them, and then intentionally look for opportunities to care for them, and then to share out loud with words the truth of the gospel. Thanks for your question.
I have two questions. One's a yes/no question. But the first one is in 384, we went through a Word of Life Bible study in our youth group.
Yep.
Do you still produce those?
Yes, so we still have curriculum. So it's been updated a lot since back then, but the principle is the same as it was back then. And so it is just quality stuff, but it's not for every youth ministry. And we basically, through that relationship, is going, if this would be a help to them, then we say, cool, here, have a look at this. Otherwise, if they're happy to do their own thing, then we still celebrate them doing that. So
The second question is, like the kids' holiday program, I think even in this room there'll be people who'd love to do that.
yep.
Where do we go from here? Say we want to do something in the holidays next year,
Yep.
because I think it's too late this year. We're probably fully booked.
Yeah, we're already booked, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So basically, if you're keen to do that, then my recommendation would be chat to the youth team and make sure that they're on board as well. And then so if you've got basically your leadership or a few key leaders that are going, we want to see this happen, then just email us and we'll start to work it out. Because we'd love to come and serve and help in that if that was something that as a church you wanted to do.
I think,
Time-wise, yeah.
yeah. Thanks very much, Dave.